Jesus Christ! I'm not asking for much. Only your soul.
What's up YouTube, it's Eye of the Boat, and today we have TEPPEN World's Pick Akuma. Now I thought I was going to do a Raging Demon video because it's popular in America. However, the majority of Akuma picks are actually Ashura Senku in TEPPEN World Championship 2020. It got me to thinking, what deck could it possibly be? Well, I'm thinking it's either purple-black or green-black humans. I think purple-black is stronger, but I've heard rumors that green-black humans Ashura Senku is on the latter. Through testing, I think that the deck I wanted to show you is the purple-black list. Let's take a look at the deck. Of course, it is a purple-black aggro list. This purple-black aggro list is an improved version of its predecessor. I believe the predecessor was actually a lot stronger and would win games in 30 seconds. This deck is supposed to mimic that. It's a little bit slower, so this deck list focuses a lot on board pressure, board control, and then effectively you can swing out for game doing some direct damage. You'll notice there's a lot of new units in this deck list from the new set, as well as utilizing a key card here, Mitsune. Mitsune is a very powerful card, and we are going to definitely see why in the gameplay section. Now this deck's concept is to be just as strong as before, and let's talk about the hero art. So this is Ashura Senku. I wasn't sure that this was going to be played at all. In fact, I actually had my own build previously that I thought was pretty good, but I knew that a lot of players didn't really like that build or didn't think of that build. Ashura Senku is a very powerful hero art. It moves a friendly unit to a random open board slot, grants that unit Veil for 10 seconds and immune to damage for 10 seconds. So the opponent won't be able to target that unit. They also will not be able to deal damage to that unit. And that gives you a lot of free reign to just do mass destruction with that unit. And that's what you're going to see a lot from the units in this deck. So let's start off with the first unit we have is Nohime. Nohime, I underestimated this card. I think that there are players that are out there that knew this card had a lot of potential, and I have to say that Nohime from the latest expansion is definitely a card that will stay relevant for quite some time. Now, why is this card relevant? It's because of its ability. After dealing damage to an enemy, deal 2 damage to a random enemy unit or hero. It's important to note that when it's saying deal damage to an enemy, it means like anything. So if you hit the enemy hero, it'll proc its ability. If you hit an enemy unit, it will proc the ability. The only time it will not proc is if it hits a shield, and because this card has combo, or can explore for combo and then give itself combo, it'll get that ability twice. So effectively, Nohime is a 4-cost 1/7 unit that can get you a lot of value. You know, with its first attack without any buffs, just using the combo, you're already dealing 6 damage effectively. And for a 4 MP unit, that's incredible. Next up for units, we have Kasuga. Kasuga is a 1/8 agility combo unit for 4 MP. Now, if you buff this in any type of way, it's already becoming a better Heavenly Kicks Chun, and Heavenly Kicks Chun is a very well-regarded legendary unit for green. Because of this, this makes Kasuga into an incredible threat to send to the opponent, and also one to be feared. Next up we have Mitsune. This card, being in the aggro decks, is exceptionally good. I hope that more players can understand and see why this card is good in aggro decks, even though there is the memory ability that it'll gain a damage buff if you have 7 memory. That's not important. The most important part about this is that it's still a well-statted 4 MP unit, and also you have the agility and attacking ability where after this card attacks, it gives a random enemy unit -1 attack. Now, it is important to note that the attacking trigger will proc before damage, so if the enemy unit has 1 attack and you are attacking with Mitsune, Mitsune will take 0 damage. Next up we have Usagi Kenshin. This is our last unit in the deck, and I also want to note that this is the secret art version. There is a normal art version and it'll be this card. They do the same thing. Usagi Kenshin, while on the field, give all other friendly units attack damage +1. It is important to note that attack damage +1 does not mean that the unit will gain +1 attack. It just means that when the unit deals damage to another enemy unit when attacking, will get +1 damage. So this will not count counter damage, which are completely two different things. So just kind of think of it as a way of saying, oh, if this unit is attacking, it'll get an additional damage. It won't show on the field, but it's there. After dealing damage to an enemy hero, inflict a random enemy unit with halt for 5 seconds. So if Usagi Kenshin hits the enemy hero directly, what will happen is a halt effect will happen randomly amongst the enemy opponent's unit. And that is very good for controlling enemy units. I've seen this happen a lot to Orochi players, where Usagi Kenshin hits the enemy player and then Orochi gets halted, and obviously somebody has to stop Kenshin, right? That makes Kenshin a pretty nice threat. Now the rest of the deck is to support these units, and this is a 12-18 split. We have 12 units, 18 actions, and the rest of the deck is just to support the cards in our deck. Forbidden Fruit. Forbidden Fruit is a way to buff our units, but also make our units protected, because whenever they would take damage for up to 3 times, we would take the damage instead. So any damage dealt to those units, our player health will suffer instead. The next up is Summon Minions. I like to leave at least 1 mana open extra than what I'm paying for another action, because you never really want to pay the full 3 for Summon Minions. Sometimes you do, most of the times you don't. And what will happen is this card will bring out a unit from your deck to the field. And most of the times you will only have to spend 1 MP for this ability, because you want to use it in response to an enemy action. Next up we have Bolt Reaver's Valor. This card actually doesn't fit the deck very well, because the deck is supposed to be, you know, win the game in a minute. And generally you will not need to ever get to this Bolt Reaver's Valor, but it is still a good buff to play at 2 MP, and if we get to late game, hey, we could use this card as well. Next up we have Psycho Power. This card is very strong because it allows us to buff the attack and defense of our units. It does cost 3 life, but it's well worth it if we're going to win the game in a minute. Next up we have Heartless Experiment. This card sacrifices 3 life, but for 1 MP we can give +2 attack to one of our friendly units, and that's a lot for TEPPEN standards. Next up we have Like a Demon. Like a Demon is a 1 MP action card that sacrifices 2 life and gives a friendly unit +3 HP. Using this ability is a way for us to have a pseudo shield. Because we don't have access to green, we don't have access to shields to protect our units. This is the next best thing, where we can spend 1 MP to give 3 HP to one of our units. This allows us to effectively not lose our units so easily. We do play 2 negates. Negates are, from my experience, really strong for aggressive decks, and I have to really chalk it up to Dango, because Dango was the one that was building all these aggro decks, and I learned from him and playing against him that if you have the negates, I guess you just win. So why not play more than 1? You know, let's play 2 negates. And real talk, Dango probably plays like 4 negates. Next up we have Ceasefire. This card is spicy. I don't think it'll be a card that's always going to be relevant, but there are going to be matchups where you can use Ceasefire to stop like Living Death. Even green plays that new card that's like a 4 mana bamboo thing, brings back a card from your deck to the field. You can lock the board, so that way if your opponent's like brainwashing or trying to move anything on the field, it'll completely stop it. Nothing can go into that board slot when you lock the empty board slot. In addition, you can use this card to lock out the lane in front of one of your units so that you can guarantee a hit. So this will make one of your units effectively unblockable. We do play 2 Hookshot. This is the general trend for aggressive players. Aggressive players, when they're building a deck that is very aggressive, they'll try to play for board. And you might be asking, why don't you play 3 of these, make 3 of your units unblockable? The reason being is because you don't always want to hit the face. You just want to control the board first, so that way your opponent is in a kind of like checkmate area. They're pressured, they don't have a lot of resources left, and then when it gets to the nitty gritty, that's when you really want the hook shots. When you want to give flight to your unit is when it gets to the nitty gritty, when you need to get that last hit in, or whenever you need to not have your unit get damaged. It is also important to note that this hook shot is a alternate art. The regular art is right here, so you can get that hook shot with just this core version. And that's it for the deck. Here's the QR code, so that is convenient to all of you. And let's get into some gameplay.
You dare to challenge me?
Alright, I like starting hands like this because we have an agility unit, so we're going to go ahead and play Mitsune. Agility units are usually the best cards to start with this deck. And this looks to be a dual color Thunder Edge deck. They're playing the MP units. And they're going to do that to Mitsune. I'm going to go ahead and play the Forbidden Fruit, so that way once it's sealed I'll lose the negative effects of Forbidden Fruit. Bottom lane is going to trade, so I'm definitely down for that. Let's go ahead and set up our next Mitsune. Ooh, I do not like what I'm seeing. I'm going to fly over here. Going to increase our health. I'm a little surprised by the Thunder Edge, but not really. Nice! We got it in just in time to protect our card. Why is she so slow? I don't know why. Why was she slow? I don't get that. There wasn't any abilities that I saw that showed that it was going to be slowed down.
You lack discipline.
Right now we're threatening lethal. Because we just have one more attack.
You lack discipline.
There we go.
My fist shall crush all who stand before me. I will teach you the meaning of pain.
I'll destroy every last nest.
Interesting, a Tenkuha deck. Fun fact, Tenkuha is actually one of the hero arts that World Championship winner of 2019 Last Guardian is bringing to this year's. So maybe we'll see something familiar.
Playtime's over.
Diplomacy of Love, okay. That card slows and minuses damage from all of our units for a set amount of time. So it's not actually scary, but it does slow us down quite a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and play another Mitsune, because generally with Tenkuha decks, they are supposed to play aggressively. Like this, for example. What's nice about double Mitsune is all their board has no attack. So we can definitely capitalize on this. We are gonna buff.
Now I've got you.
That is fine.
Time to finish this. I'm not done yet.
I'm gonna go ahead and do this. So that way if they ever thought about using Senkuha on
You're
Date,
wasting your time.
it'll actually do nothing. Because no damage can be dealt to the middle lane unit.
My fist shall crush all who stand before me! Out! We fight to the death!
Come at me.
A Metsu Shoryuken deck. Metsu Shoryuken decks are usually aggressive, so we might be racing here. That's okay. I believe our deck to be better at racing.
I'll hold nothing back.
I am surprised that they play that card. So it looks like to be a reanimate Metsu Shoryuken deck. However, we're just going to keep buffing our unit. Because as they're trying to set up, we are going in. And they play Valstrax, that is a surprise.
It's not over yet. I can't afford to start myself.
I'm going to protect her. Because they're probably trying to bring out Rathalos. And Rathalos deals 5 damage. Oh, it's a Lucia. Interesting. But we still have game.
My fist shall crush all who stand before me!
As you can see, this deck is very aggressive and Mitsune is an incredibly strong card. I have no doubt that if any player is running the black-purple variant, it is very difficult to stop. From playtesting, I would always win every game that wasn't a hard counter. There are a few other Ashura builds, but I believe this to be the best and most consistent. We'll see for sure on the world stage. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to ask any questions under the comments. I will be watching. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you at TEPPEN World Championships 2020.